Most people still believe that Bitcoin is only a game for the rich. What's the point for me if I can't buy a whole Bitcoin? They say. The price seems astronomical, and many feel like the train has already left. But the truth is, even a tiny fraction of this digital currency can be a turning point. Just 0.01 Bitcoin, and you already have a chance to change your financial future. Why is that? Let's break it down. Bitcoin isn't just another coin or stock. It's a limited resource, a kind of digital gold. Only 21 million coins will ever exist. No more, no less. And that makes it unique. Unlike traditional money, which can be printed endlessly, Bitcoin's supply is strictly capped. Now imagine some simple math. Today, there are more than 8 billion people on the planet, and only 21 million Bitcoins. Even if everyone wanted to own just one, it would be impossible. And that's where the magic is. Even a fraction of a Bitcoin becomes incredibly valuable. 0.01 Bitcoin is like a slice of pie that, in the future, could be worth more than a whole cake today. Many people overlook an important fact. Unlike stocks or real estate, Bitcoin is divisible up to 8 decimal places. You don't need to own a whole Bitcoin. You can own fractions, called satoshis. 1 Bitcoin equals 100 million satoshis. So when you hold 0.01 Bitcoin, that's already 1 million satoshis. Let's look at history. In 2010, 1 Bitcoin cost less than a cent. People bought it with spare change from coffee. Nobody took it seriously. But just 10 years later, the price had risen to tens of thousands of dollars. Many who once held pennies in Bitcoin suddenly became millionaires. So was it all just luck? No. The secret lies in limited supply and growing demand. Each new cycle proves one thing. The further we go, the harder it is to buy even a small piece. 10 years ago, you could buy a whole Bitcoin for $1. Today, that same dollar only gets you a fraction. And tomorrow, it will be even less. Think about it. If Bitcoin one day becomes the world's reserve currency or a global store of value, like gold, then owning even a small piece will carry enormous power. It's like owning a plot of land in Manhattan before the skyscrapers were built. Today, such land is worth millions, but once it was just empty ground. But let's set aside imagination and return to reality. Imagine the price of Bitcoin in the future reaches $500,000 per coin. That's not a fantasy. Many analysts, including major banks and investors, see it as possible. What does that mean for someone who owns just 0.01 Bitcoin? That's already $5,000. And if the price hits $1 million, your 0.01 turns into $10,000. Impressive, right? A small fraction, but over time it can grow into real wealth. It's like planting a seed today. It looks tiny, insignificant, but given time and the right soil, it becomes a tree. Here's the key. Unlike many traditional assets, Bitcoin is accessible to everyone. You don't need to be a millionaire to start. All it takes is buying even a small fraction. That's the crucial difference. An Amazon or Tesla share might bring profit too, but if the price is already high, it's not always easy to own a meaningful piece. Bitcoin, on the other hand, lets you start with just a few dollars. Many people think, what difference will my 0.01 Bitcoin make? That's nothing. But in reality, it's the opposite. That nothing could be your first step toward financial independence. You don't rely on governments, inflation, or bank policies. You own part of a network that works across borders and without censorship. Consider another fact. Millions of people on Earth will never be able to buy even 0.01 Bitcoin. The math is simple. If all Bitcoins were split evenly, each person would get about 0.0026. So if you hold 0.01, you're already in the top few percent of all potential holders. This isn't about being rich today. It's about participating in the future. Bitcoin isn't just about price. It's about access to a new financial system where you control your own assets. Because what do most people do? They put money in a savings account that loses value to inflation. They keep cash in a currency that governments can print endlessly. Only a few understand. Digital scarcity is the new standard of wealth. That's why a small fraction of Bitcoin isn't just a number on a screen. It's a ticket to the future. A ticket that might one day be the most important investment of your life. Many people underestimate how much psychology influences investing. When you look at the number 0.01 Bitcoin, it feels too small. But perception is deceptive. Financial history shows that those who understand the power of fractions win over the long run. Think about how it was with big company stocks. When Amazon first started, many investors thought it was silly to buy a single share for a few dollars. What could one share possibly do for me? They thought. But years later, that one share turned into hundreds or thousands of dollars in profit. Bitcoin works the same way. Even a small fraction today can become a massive value tomorrow. The biggest mistake most people make is looking for instant results. They want immediate growth. But Bitcoin is a game measured in decades. Those who hold their fractions long-term end up in the winning position. That's why even 0.01 Bitcoin matters. It's your ticket into the long game. It's also important to realize that every purchase of Bitcoin is not just an investment in an asset, but a vote for a new financial system. The more people own even a tiny share, the stronger the network becomes. You become part of a global ecosystem that cannot be shut down or controlled by a single authority. Another important point is the rarity of ownership. If we look at statistics, millions of people chase after fleeting things. The newest phone, vacations, cars. These purchases lose value within a year. But 0.01 Bitcoin, on the other hand, is likely to increase in value over time. Psychologists call this the future self effect. We often sacrifice tomorrow for today's pleasures. But those willing to give up small expenses for long-term rewards end up in far better positions years later. Now let's talk about perspective. Many analysts predict that in the next 10 to 15 years, Bitcoin could reach $1 million per coin. It's not a guarantee, but the probability is high. In that scenario, your 0.01 Bitcoin becomes $10,000. That's an amount that can change a life. Paying for education, investing in a business, or building an emergency fund. And here's the important realization. The key isn't to buy a whole Bitcoin right away. The key is simply to start. Even a small step triggers a chain of events. When you own even a fraction of Bitcoin, you begin to think differently about money, investing, and the future. Bitcoin also has another major advantage. It is borderless. You can hold a bank account anywhere in the world, but it can always be frozen, devalued, or restricted. Bitcoin, however, belongs only to you. Nobody can take it away if you control your keys. That creates a sense of freedom that no traditional money can buy. In reality, owning 0.01 Bitcoin could be more valuable than large sums sitting in a bank account. One scenario loses value through inflation, while the other grows. Bank money is a race against inflation. Bitcoin is a race for a scarce resource. Now imagine the next generation. Today's teenagers will enter adulthood in a world where Bitcoin is a common financial tool. And in that world, 0.01 will no longer be small change, but a legacy. A tiny share can be passed from generation to generation, just like gold or property. And the most surprising part is that you don't need millions for this. All it takes is a little discipline and a willingness to think ahead. Even buying a few dollars worth of Bitcoin regularly each month can help you reach that share. You just need to understand one simple truth. Bitcoin is not too expensive, it's too scarce. And the longer you wait, the smaller your chance to get in. So when you see the number 0.01 Bitcoin, don't laugh at it. Remember that most people on Earth will never be able to afford even that much. Which means if you own it, you're already ahead of millions. Many people ask, what if Bitcoin never becomes a global standard? What if it's just a passing trend? At first glance, those doubts seem reasonable. But if you look deeper into the history of money, you'll see that every new technology was met with skepticism. Once, people laughed at paper money. It's just paper, why would anyone want this? They said, clinging to gold. Today, no one questions the value of banknotes, even though they have no intrinsic worth. Bitcoin is no different. Its value comes not from habit, but from trust and scarcity. It's important to understand, Bitcoin has already proven its resilience. It has survived dozens of crises, crashes, and media funerals. Every time it seemed over, the network kept running, and the community grew stronger. Even 0.01 Bitcoin in the hands of an ordinary person is proof that the system is decentralized and belongs to everyone. Now let's look at the bigger picture. The world faces constant inflation and endless money printing. For governments, it's a survival tool, but for ordinary people, it's lost purchasing power. Against this backdrop, Bitcoin is becoming a lifeboat. And that's why its value keeps rising long-term. Even if you're not an investor or trader, owning 0.01 Bitcoin makes you part of a global experiment. It's like having a ticket on a ship already sailing toward the future. Maybe it hasn't reached its destination yet, but it's moving faster than anything else. The secret of the wealthy has always been simple. They act before everyone else. While the majority argue and doubt, they buy and hold. The same is true here. Those who decide to take even a small share today will be one step ahead of millions tomorrow. Bitcoin isn't just about money. It's about freedom. Your funds can't be frozen, seized, or devalued by government decree. They belong only to you. That's why even a small fraction matters so much. It's a symbol of independence. Many will say, what difference do $500 or $1,000 in Bitcoin make for me? The answer is simple. The power of choice in the future. When crisis, inflation, or restrictions hit, you'll have an asset that works outside the system. That gives you strength most people don't have. In the long run, Bitcoin becomes not just an investment, but a form of protection. Just as gold preserved wealth for past generations, Bitcoin is becoming the shield of the digital age. Even 0.01 Bitcoin can serve as a digital shield. Think about this simple example. Suppose you have a small bank deposit earning 2 to 3% per year. Inflation eats 5 to 6%. In reality, your money is shrinking. Meanwhile, Bitcoin has averaged double-digit growth annually over the past decade. Yes, it's volatile, but the trend is undeniable. For many, this is the chance not to miss out. Because one day there will come a point when the average person can no longer afford even 0.01 Bitcoin. That threshold is getting closer, and time works against those who hesitate. Bitcoin teaches one simple principle. Value is created where scarcity exists. If today you own a share still available to millions, tomorrow it may be a rarity available only to thousands. But the most important part isn't numbers. The real power is the change in mindset. Once you own even 0.01 Bitcoin, you stop seeing money as something static. You begin thinking strategically, asking, how do I protect it, grow it, pass it on? That's the true transformation. A small fraction turns you from a consumer into a builder. You're no longer just spending money, you're managing it. And that skill is more valuable than any balance on your account. In the end, the story of Bitcoin is a story of patience. Those who hold win. Those who chase quick victories almost always lose. And here again lies the strength of a small fraction. 0.01 Bitcoin is a test of patience. So here's the big question. What will you choose? Spend the money today on another unnecessary gadget, or invest it into a fraction that could one day be part of a new financial world. The future is built today. And sometimes all it takes is one small step to look back years later and say, I'm glad I decided to do it. And from that moment, the real question is no longer, will I get rich? But, how far can I go? If this video helped you see Bitcoin differently, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. And in the comments, tell us, how much Bitcoin do you think is enough for a secure future?